Laserfiche family. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the Laserfiche Thin Client or Laserfiche Web Access, right? Now, we're going to start with an internet shortcut that we'll have created and sent to us by the IT staff. And whether you use Chrome or whether you use Edge, it doesn't matter. I'm going to right click on Microsoft Edge down here. And you'll notice that when I open this link, it takes me straight into the Laserfiche Web Access Client. Okay. Now, this is passing through my Windows credentials. Okay. And I don't know if you're set up that way to pass your Windows credentials through automatically, and those are the credentials you use to log into Windows. Or if you are set for a Laserfiche user instead, you'll see a screen something like this where you can type in your username and password and then sign in. Okay? And this will take us into Laserfiche directly as well. Now, this that we're seeing on the screen is called the browser view. Okay? It's nested folders just like my computer or Windows Explorer. And you see this little arrow here. When I click on that little arrow, you notice it turned down and it shows me the subordinate objects underneath the root of my repository. My repository's name is GRMS, and underneath there I've got city records, departments, and public records. I'm going to go ahead and expand departments, and I'm going to expand administration. I'm going to expand quality assurance, and I'm going to select this folder that I have called from copy machine. This is my day-to-day folder. This is what I use first thing in the morning when I come in. I come in here and check out what I have to do for the day. Whatever you guys do, it doesn't really matter. The point is that we can peruse through these folders just by hitting that little down arrow and looking at the subordinate objects underneath them. Okay. Now, in this particular view, you'll notice that I have the documents in this column called name, right? And these, you can tell, are documents. They have a little document icon. These ones at the top are folders because they have a little folder icon. Okay. These columns of information are actually fields that are associated with the documents that I've turned on. Okay. And these come from what's called a Laserfiche template. Okay. And this template is nothing more than, imagine it as like a box. And inside of this box, we have a bunch of fields, right? We have all these different fields like contact and subject and comments and so on and so forth. Okay. Let me go ahead and select one of these documents, and I'm going to put a checkbox next to it. Now you notice this particular document has the city records template, right? For division, it's got complete paperless solutions, and it's got the department, right? And the other information that is associated with it, okay? You'll notice that when I go to the next document below it, it shows me the metadata for it, okay? Now, this window on the side has more to it than just the fields of information. You notice we can do a preview of the document. Right now, the thumbnails are turned on. I don't know if you can see it. There's this little button right here that's got 4 squares. If I click on that, it shows me the documents themselves. Right? And I can use my scroll wheel, right, to scroll through the pages of this document. If I want to go back to the thumbnails, I can click on this little button and it'll show me the thumbnail view, and I can navigate through and select a page and actually double click on it and open it from that thumbnail view. Okay. So that's the quick view inside of the metadata or side panel for the document I have selected. Okay. Now, you notice we have this little more button here. And what this allows me to do is configure the tabs that are being displayed. It shows me the common tabs. Right now I have fields, preview, and records selected. But I can take and say put details on this side and processes. Well, what are processes? We'll talk about that in a sec. And I can reorder them and put them however I want. Okay, and apply those changes. Now you notice those tabs show up here for me. I've got this details tab that shows me all the details for this record that's selected. It's got the template city records. It's got no tags, and we'll talk about tags later, no links, versions, right? We can have different versions of documents, but it shows me who modified it last and when and who it was created by, okay? So these are details related to the documents that are selected, okay? Now, let's talk a little bit about these column headers here. So this metadata, of course, that's associated with the documents, when we have it in this particular view, we can actually click on a column header to sort these things, ascending and descending, right? Doesn't matter which column I select, it's going to sort it ascending and descending, okay? Now, one of the neat things about the thin client or web access is it gives me the ability to set sort columns. So if I right click on a column and say, you know what, choose sort columns. You see how it popped in right here? So sort column number one is sort by department, and then sort by division, and then, sort by the date, right? So every time I open a folder and peruse the documents that are in it, it will sort automatically based on the information that I told it, okay? Now, this works really well for like search results and of course folders that have a lot of objects in it. And if I don't like the way the sort columns are, I can remove them one at a time, or I can just hit the reset button and reset that. Now, the other thing that I can do from the columns is to filter even farther my results. So, say for example, if I did a search and I wanted to just search the results based on a certain column, I could click this little funnel button here and say, okay, only show me the documents that have the number 7 in the name, right? In the name. So go ahead and filter those. And you notice only 2 documents are there right now because they have the number 7 in the name. So I use that filter. I can reset that and do that on any one of the columns by clicking on this little button that looks like a filter. So it's just saying, hey, basically filter the results by a specific criteria. Okay? All right. Now, let's talk a little bit about this list up here at the top. This is called a breadcrumb trail, right? It shows me where I'm at. I'm in the from copy machine, which is inside of the quality assurance folder, which is inside of the administration folder, which is inside of departments, which is inside of the root folder, which is GRMS. And at any point, I can click on one of these and it'll take me straight to that particular folder. Okay. I can hit the back button to go back where I was, right? But the point is they call this a breadcrumb trail, like Hansel and Gretel. Shows you where you have been, where you're going, and you can click on it to get back to where you need to go. Okay? Called the breadcrumb trail. All right? Now, this is the basic, viewing of the folders and the documents based on the objects that you have selected on the left. Now, one thing that you might have noticed is in this folder, I got a couple of documents that are starred, right? Now, when I select that document, you'll notice that up at the top of it, it's got this little star here, and I can remove it and add it and remove it and add it. Now, this is nothing more. It's kind of like a tag, but it's like a bookmark, right? We're saying, okay, remember this document. I'm going to come back to it later, and I can go through my repository and I can, select any documents that I want and tag them. Let me find something here. Hang on. And oh, who's that guy? Where'd that come from? All right, hang on. Sorry, let me find something here. Got to be something handy. Well, that's not much better, is it? All right. Come on, there's got to be something here. Let's see. Administration, legal, legislative, contracts and agreements. There's got to be something here. Hang on. All right. And here's a particular document. Supporting documentation, disclosures. This happens to be a PDF, but you'll notice here at the top of the name, got that little star there, and I'm going to go ahead and star that one. Okay. Now, it's nice because if we're going through looking for documents and trying to build a file or do what have you, or want to get back to where we've been by starring those documents, you notice I got this little object at the top that says start, and when I click on that, it shows me all the documents that I have added that star to. Okay, just a simple feature, but you'd be surprised how often it comes in handy. Okay, right below that, we have recent documents. And here's a list of the documents that I've been into recently. Okay. Last modified, creation, the number of pages, and all this metadata information that is listed with it. And of course, again, with this particular view, if I don't want to see or, to view particular columns or what have you, I can go through and add whatever columns of information I want. Now at the top here, the common columns checked out, classification level created by, has tags, has pages. Man, there's a lot of information here. So we want to kind of keep it simple. A lot of these things are very self-explanatory, but some of them are not. But we're going to keep things basic, okay? Anyway, so the different information that you want to display at any point in time can be accessed through this little column picker button to change the way we view things, okay? Now, let's take a look up here in the top right corner of our web browser. You notice that it's got me listed as admin. That's who I'm logged in as right now. And, as admin, I can go into options or management. Help, you guys, is very, very big thing. This help file is continually updated. It's web-based. It comes straight from, if you can see this, Laserfiche support, right? And it's a very nice way to find out how to do what you want to do, right? Adding content to Laserfiche, new document options and properties, right? It gives us step-by-step instructions on how to add content to Laserfiche, creating folders, importing documents, right? Let's start with that one, importing documents. What types of documents do we want to import, right? And it walks you through step-by-step instructions on how to accomplish the task at hand. Now, again, with these training videos that we have, we could talk all day long, I think, about functionality, but sometimes it's too much. So I would suggest going to this help file and using it to accomplish the task at hand. Normal day-to-day function is, hey, let's right-click on something, right? And I'm in the root folder, and I'm right-clicking on the white area, and I'm just simply going to say, hey, I want to import some information. So, I can browse and grab a document, open it up, and bring it into my folder, right? It's asking me to give it a name. Here is my name. And this is naming the document. It's saying, hey, right now it's set for / nothing. That means it's going into the root of the repository. But I can browse out and I can select a folder that I want it to go into. Okay. I want it to go into administration, quality assurance, and I want it to go into my inbound folder. Okay. And do I want to put a template on it? Yeah. I'm going to assign my city records template, right? Tags. Tags are basically that. I mean, it's like a shopping tag or a security tag. These things are information above and beyond that help us group or label documents that are in the system. And then later on, and I'll show you this, it'll allow us to search for documents that are tagged with a specific bit of information, right? I'm going to tag this one with public record. Okay. Um, so let me go ahead and import that document. Okay. So now it put it in to departments, administration, and inbound. Right. Okay. So let's take a look at dragging and dropping a document in now. So I've got Windows Explorer right here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab these first four samples here. So I'm going to select the first one. I'm going to hold my Shift key down and select sample 4. And you notice it's selected 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now I'm going to drag those right into the window that I have open. You see how it changes here? It says drag files here. So now it's bringing them in from a simple drag and drop. Here's sample 1. It's bringing it into departments, administration, quality assurance, inbound. I'm not going to assign the template or the tags this time, right? And I'm going to say, go ahead and apply these properties to all the documents and just import them. Okay? Samples 1, samples 2, sample 3, and sample 4. There they are. And again, if I click on one, it allows me to see the details, the fields, preview the document and what's in it. Again, I can use my scroll wheel to scroll through the pages that are there, right? Or if I want to see the thumbnails, I can click on that and view the thumbnails in the quick view. So that is how we drag and drop information into the browser. Okay. Now, there's other ways to get documents in, such as scanning. I'm not going to go through scanning today. You actually have to have a scanner installed on your machine to be able to use scanning. So for those of you who don't have a scanner, I'm assuming that maybe you use a copier machine or something along those lines. So if you can walk up to the copy machine and put your documents in, by the time you get back to your desk, your documents are sitting inside of your quality assurance inbound from copy machine folder. Okay. You notice too that the import button is there as well. And then there's a download button as well. So what is download? That's the same thing on the right mouse click over here, right? And basically what I want to do is I want to take a hard copy of this document and download it to my local machine, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and click on it, and I can bring it down as a PDF, or I can bring it down as a TIFF file. Now, there's multiple pages to this document, so I want to make sure I use TIFF or PDF, because those are what we call multi-page format documents, okay? Now, if this is something that you want to stay secure, you can actually put a password on it as well, okay? We've got download options here. We can go in and set things automatically for what we want to do when we download the image, right? We want to include all the annotations. We want to convert annotations into PDF annotations when we generate PDFs, so on and so forth, okay? That's a little bit above where we need to be right now, so we're going to go ahead and go past that. But now I'm going to go ahead and just download this document, and it's going to take it from the system. I've got a thing called Audit Trail clicking in right now, and it's asking me to take ownership because I'm expunging something out of my system. So I don't know if you guys have that turned on or not, but what it does is it says, hey, we notice you're taking something out of the repository, and we want you to be responsible for it. Okay, so now I just downloaded that document to my local machine. Okay, you can see it down here in the bottom left corner. I can actually show in the folder on my computer where that is. Okay, there she blows, my sample. All right, let's move along then. Let's talk just a little bit more about these buttons that are up here. So we talked about the scan, we import, download. New folder, that one's self-explanatory. So, you know, we have whatever we have selected over here. When we click on the new folder button, it'll ask me to name my new folder. Okay. And say OK. And now you notice that here it is. I can select it and I can drag and drop, or I can do whatever I want and bring it into that specific folder. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about the drag and drop situation real quick before we move on. I've got this folder called Batch Combine And say, for example, if I have a few different documents in here, I might want to combine these documents into one, right? Now you notice that when I grab this document, it's allowing me to move it. I can take and drag this. See how it's got a red X, but then when I drag it over something, it goes to a green checkbox. It's saying it's okay to drop that in. So I can actually take this document one and drop it into document two. It's asking me, do you want to insert after the last page, before the first page, or insert it at a specific page number, right? I'm just going to go after the last page, right? And it removed the empty document was there. I'm going to do the same thing for this. Drag it up and in there, okay? I'm going to insert this before the first page, okay? Very easy enough to do, right? So now this one document has all those pages combined into it, okay? And as you can see, they're a little bit out of order. I can grab this thumbnail here and bring this back up to be page number one just by moving it to the top, right? 1, 2, I don't know what happened to 3, but I'm sure it's in there somewhere. We'll come back to the document view in just a second. All right, so we've got one more button up here, and it's called Rename, okay? And again, all of these buttons that we have up here in the top right are actually on the right mouse click as well, right? But there is another one here that's a little bit different. It says download, excuse me, copy URL. So I might copy this URL and send it to somebody else so that they can go straight to where I'm at. Then I can just send them an email with that in there if I want to, okay? And then the last one button that we have up here is email. And of course you saw the ability to email on the right mouse button as well, okay? Now, one last thing in the top right corner here, we've got more actions, right? I can move or copy, I can delete, generate reports, new documents, start a business process. We're not going to talk about hold actions because that's with records management, and we won't talk about the advanced. But the point is that all of these options that are up in the top right corner are all also on the right mouse button. So either way, whatever's convenient for you and however you want to get to them. Now, before we move on to searching, I want to talk about one last thing. Up here in the top, we've got our name where it's listed, and here we can go in and sign out, right? Here we can actually go into options as well, and we can set up the options, like say for our display and how we want things to look in on our browser, and we make changes to this. We can save it, and next time we come in, it'll remember those changes for us. Okay. Now, I'm not going to go into all of the itty bitty details about all of the options here. There are quite a few things that we could cover. And if you want to go in there and tinker around, all of these things are stored in your local profile, and they'll be loaded for you every time you open up the client. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk just a little bit now about this search window, okay? Now, this search window is kind of like a Google search. You put one keyword in. I'm going to do the word paperless, and I'm going to hit my enter key and search. Now, it's going to go through all of the documents, and it's going to look for the word paperless. Well, where? Well, let me show you this. It's got, if you hit this little down arrow, I'm searching for the word paperless in the document text, okay? I'm not searching the fields over here. If you guys remember, the fields are the metadata, right? I'm not searching the entry names, and that's this in the front here, the name column, right? Entry names. And then there's annotation text, and that can be searched as well. Or I could just choose all fields, and I can actually search within a specific folder. Right now, I just have it set for document text, and let's talk about what we got back here. So on the top, we have a list of documents that it found, right? On the bottom, so if we select one of these documents, like scanned, right, it shows me on the bottom in the context where page it found the word paperless on. In this particular document, it found it on page 1 and found it on page 3, right? This particular document, it found it on quite a few pages. Now, what's nice about this context list is it's just a little snippet of a sentence within the document that we found the word paperless on. And you can see that it just gives me a little bit of the context to help me find what I'm looking for. Contract 1234, there it is. So when I click on this link, right, for this complete paperless solutions public works, it's going to take me, hang on, see this little number down here that says page 11? I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take me straight to page 11. It's going to open the document, take me straight to page 11, and then you guys notice it's highlighting what I was looking for right on the document, right? There it is. So that's the quick search. Now, as I said, we were only searching for the text, but what happens if we turn on all fields, okay? And document text, and entry names, and annotations, right? Let's do that same search. So now it's searching for the word paperless for all of the objects that are there, the name of it, any text that might be in it, any field data that might have it, right? So it's a pretty broad search, okay? It found 305 entries with the criteria paperless, either in the text, the metadata fields, right, or the template, the entry name, or in the annotations. Now, if it has text, right, in the hit, of course, when I select that document on the top, it will give me the text hit on the bottom. Well, that one that I just selected doesn't have it. It only has paperless in the name. See there? So let me select this one here. Oh, boy. I guess none of them have any text. Here, that's got to be one. Oh, so we created my own little issue here. So since I have multiple documents selected, it's not giving me my context hits down at the bottom, right? You notice that as soon as I got rid of the multiple selection, now that I only have one document selected, right? You notice my context hit came down at the bottom here now, right? And then of course I can double click on that entry, and this is page 3, I think it was. This is going to open this document, take me straight to page 3, and then highlight what I was looking for on the screen. Okay. All right. So this is the Laserfiche Web Access thin client. There is a lot more that we could talk about with features and functionality, but we're going to leave this alone for now because we just want you to get in and start doing some of the basics, hence the reason we're calling this basic training. So this concludes the browser view, and we talked a little bit about the quick search, and we're going to continue on now with doing the advanced search, okay? And of course, I'm going to go ahead and click on this button, and let's go ahead and let's talk about advanced searching. Okay, so on the screen, you can see that we have the document text, entry names, all fields, and annotation text come up under the common search. That's kind of like that basic search that we just did. I'm going to turn that off, however, and what I'm going to turn on is the full text searching here. Okay. Now, I'm going to search for the word Gonzalez. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the search button. Now, you'll notice that it brought back a single document, right? And it opened it straight away. Okay. You'll also notice that with this one document, it still gave me my context hit, so where it found Gonzalez. 147, 148, so on and so forth. And it allows me to navigate through to that record. Now, it opened up one document for a reason, because there was only one in there that met my criteria. Now, let me do this. I'm going to make this Gonzalez with a Z this time, right? And I'm going to go ahead and hit search. Now you notice this time it brought me back 3 documents, right? Only this time it has Gonzalez with a Z. That's verbatim. And, again, if I click on the context hit, it takes me straight to the page and shows me what I'm looking for. If I click on this, of course, it's going to open up the PDF and, show me what I'm looking for, right? Now, underneath this, you notice we have this button called Terms. So what I want to do now is I want to do a search for Gonzalez and Joel and hit search. Now take note, it brought us back to one document. But I'd also like you to notice that it found Joel Anderson and Jeff Gonzalez, right? And again, I can just click on these hits and it'll show me where it found it within that document. There's Joel A. Gonzalez, okay? So I searched for this and that. It's called a Boolean search, okay? Let me search for Gonzalez, but not Joel, okay? And you notice this time it only brought back the 2 PDFs, right? And so let's do Gonzalez or Joel. And you'll notice it brought 3 documents back again. Now, let's do this. Find Gonzalez, and within one word of Gonzalez, find the word steakhouse. I saw that on one of the earlier hits. So within one word of, you can do that as a Boolean search, or you can do within sentences of. So you can start narrowing down certain criteria, because sometimes, we have a hard time remembering, the name of the document or this, that, and the other things. But if we remember a couple of key identifiers, it allows us to put those key identifiers in and do this Boolean search, right? Search for this and that. Now, if we got too many hits back, let me go back to this word paperless. And let me do a search. Now, with this, you'll notice that I got 806 entries back, right? Now, I'm just searching on text. So all of these hits that came back, they all have context, meaning that they all have text with the word paperless in it. But I want to do a Boolean search. I don't want to just search on text. I want to actually add a couple of things here. So let me add another search type. Let me add within a specific folder, right? I don't want to do the entire repository. I want to select a folder. I can do the current folder that I'm on, but let me do this and browse to it. And I want city records and I want administration only, okay? Include the subfolders. And you notice that it has within, so look inside of it. I could also choose not in if that be the case, right? Let me do that same search. Now you notice I got 58 entries back, okay? I narrowed it down to one specific folder. Let me add more criteria. Let me go to advanced and let me add some metadata. We talked about templates and fields. So let me turn on fields. And I could choose a template, which I think I said in one of the earlier discussions that the template was like a box that you put all the fields in. But I don't want the whole thing. I want to just choose a specific field because I'm just looking for contracts and agreements, right? So I'm going to choose record series because that's what I have in my template for the city. And I want to search for contracts and agreements. Okay. I'm going to take the S off of that intentionally and hit search. Now, you'll notice that nothing is coming back, right? Reason being is that it is contracts and agreements, right? And if I put the S on there, so I'm searching within uh, records administration, I'm searching for the text paperless, and I'm searching for the record series in the metadata for contracts and agreements. Okay, search. Now you'll notice it brought me back 3 documents with contracts and agreements with the word paperless, right? And within the folder administration under the city records. So this is a Boolean search, right? I use this search all the time. So what I want to do is I want to save this search, okay? Now you notice if I go back to that advanced button, down at the bottom left, you see this save button. And I'm going to go ahead and I want to save this as a new search, and I'm going to call it my contracts search, right? And I can apply this to myself, or I could share it with a group, okay? And I could just type the group name in and send it out, right? I could also take and replace any existing searches that I might have saved, okay? I'm going to go ahead and save this as a new search that applies to myself. Okay? Now you notice up in the top right corner it says my contract search. So now it's listing anything that I have saved for searches, and I can reload them at any time, right? Okay, there it is. Now let's talk about a few extra things here. Um, we talked about the text searching, right? And the word Gonzalez, right? Now, in one of our earlier discussions, we talked about the OCRing and indexing, okay? Now, all documents that you want to do full text searching on have to have the text added to their index, right? And we're going to talk in a little bit of detail about this because I really do believe it's important. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this thing. And I went to I went to up in the top right corner and hit the down arrow under my name account, and I went to options, and that's where I'm at right now. Let me do it for you one more time. So up here in the top right corner, where it's got me logged in as G Heim, hit the down arrow, and I'm hitting options. Okay. Now, I should have mentioned this a little bit earlier. So once we're there, I'm going to go to search. Okay. Now, within the search, this allows me to set up certain criteria, how many lines I want to see for the results to come back, so on and so forth. But the most important thing that I want to point out here is this thing that says use fuzzy search, right? And it applies to index searches only, those searches that are OCR'd and indexed, right? So let me turn that on and let me save that. Now, why am I showing you this? Let's go back to Gonzalez with a Z. Now that my fuzzy search is turned on, watch what happens. Before we only got the 3 documents, right? And we only got the ones verbatim, whether it had a Z or whether it had an S. But you notice with the fuzzy search turned on, it brings back both of them. Gonzalez with an S and Gonzalez with a Z. So that fuzzy search can be helpful when it comes to the OCR quality of a document. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to talk about a couple more searches now. I'm going to go back to my advanced button, and I'm going to turn off my text search, and let's do a date range search. So I'd like to point out that there's a date option right off of the list here, but this is not one of my template metadata fields. This is actually the date for the system. So anytime something is stored in Laserfiche, right, it gets a create date, and then anytime anybody edits a document, the system stamps it with the last modified date. That's not what I want right now, right? Although that's good, show me the stuff that I created yesterday because I can't find it. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to choose fields again, or the templates, right? And let me go in and choose fields. And in my template, and I just happen to know this, in my city template that I have a date field in there. And this date field is what triggers the filing for all of my documents, right? So I'm going to do anytime, date anytime. And let me do a search real quick. Okay. Now, you'll notice in the top here, it found 160 documents in my repository that have something in the date field. Okay. Now remember from earlier, we click on that column header, just like in the browser view, we could sort these documents, ascending or descending. We can right click and turn on sort columns and make the date, the first one, and we could make the document type the second one, and so on and so forth, even with the search. Okay. And then keep in mind, again, like I said, sort ascending and descending. Now we got a lot of hits here. So let's talk about a date range. So instead of doing any time, right, we can do on a specific date, before a specific date, after a specific date. I like these ones that are in the past, 90 days, right? So this is a nice date range search. Quick, boom, easy, right? Now, in the past 90 days, these are the documents that have been brought in. I might want to do a date range though. So let me show you that. So between, right? So let me do 01/01 2020, and let's do today. I highlighted that field and I hit my space bar, and it automatically filled in today's date. So show me all the documents for 2020. And now you'll notice in the top corner, it found 30 entries for the year 2020, sorting by the date, and then second sort by the name. And then if I want to remove that, I can reset those columns and move on from there. Okay, so this is a date range search. Okay, let's take this up a level. Earlier on, we talked about tags, and that we could assign tags to certain documents, like maybe a project or something like that, where we could tag the documents and be able to retrieve them all based on tag information. Now, here's an example where I'm going to set the tag and add it to our date range search. Okay, and I want to find documents with one or more, and I'm going to choose tags, and I'm going to do that need to be reviewed. Need to be reviewed. Okay, and I'll go ahead and hit that search. Now, you notice that we got 20 entries back, right? For documents that need to be reviewed, and I've got it set for what is it, the last 3 months, it looks like, right? So here's a list of documents that I've got back that need to be reviewed, right, within the date range that I have. Now, one thing that I might add to this is, once you sort it, get all the columns and everything that you want in place, you can actually go here to more actions, and you can generate a report on this, right? And we've been talking about metadata all night long, so this is going to be a metadata report. So I can click on that and choose the columns that I want, and I'm just going to go with what's default there. But you notice up at the top, it's asking me what kind of table do I want. Well, I could do, regular. I could open this in Microsoft Word. I could do lists. I could do an Excel spreadsheet, right? I'll go ahead and, you know what? I'm just going to do a table real quick so you can see it, and I'll say OK to that. Now it's going to generate this report for me, and it's web-based as well. And it allows me to print this. So here's a report on all the documents that need to be reviewed. And I did this using just a couple of simple search objects, one being tags and one being my date range. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about one last thing with searching before we move on. Let's talk about the use of globals when it comes to finding information. I'm going to turn on this name search, right? Now, with the entry name, I'm going to go ahead and put in the word paperless again, okay? And I'm going to do that search. Now, what you'll notice here is that nothing came back. This isn't like the common search. Let me go back to that real quick, where we could put it in and it was kind of like that Google search. So when we do a search for entry names here, and I put in the word paperless, you'll notice that it finds any variation of it. Okay, so that's the common search. But there are some times where that's a little bit too global. There's 103 entries there, right? So let's use some of these global identifiers to help filter our list a little bit differently, okay? So I'm going to turn back on the name search, and I'm going to put in paperless, and then I'm going to put an asterisk at the end of it and hit search, okay? Again, nothing comes back. Let me put an asterisk at the beginning of it and hit search. Now you'll notice that we've got the same 103 entries that came back. Because this is basically what that common search is doing, is a global. So by putting an asterisk at the beginning and the end, it finds everything with paperless in the middle of the name, as you can see here. Let me get rid of the asterisk at the end, and I'm going to hit search. And there's only one document in here I know of that is got something before the word paperless and nothing after it, right? And you'll notice up here where it has our document name, it's called Go Paperless, and there's only one in the system, and that's why it opened it automatically, as we spoke about earlier. Okay, so I found that by using the asterisk at the beginning. But let's talk about this now. There's another global identifier, and it's a question mark, right? I'm going to put two question marks in there, even though you can see here it's got for single spaces, because that's what a question mark is. We've got the G, the O, and then we have a space. Well, that's actually three, right? So theoretically, I shouldn't get any hits back. But if I put either a space or another one of these question marks, right, it'll find that same document, Go Paperless, because those question marks are a single space character. Okay, let's talk about the document view. So I've got a list of documents on the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and open one of these documents. Now, I should point out that to open a document in the document view, you need to click on the document name itself. If you click to the side of it, you'll go through the list of documents that you have here, and it'll display whatever you have in your quick view pane on the right. So say, for example, we talked a little bit earlier about the quick view pane and how you can review some of these things. Quick review, and you'll notice by not clicking on the name, it allows me to view what's on the right. But if I click on one of these documents, it will open in the document view. Okay. Now, let's talk about what we're seeing here just a little bit. Okay. On the left-hand side, we have thumbnails. On the right-hand side, we have, of course, our metadata view, right? Shows us everything that we want to see in the document view. Now, you notice we have a couple of different tabs here, and we'll get to that in just a minute. One of the key things I want to point out to start with is the next and previous options at the top. So we have that list of documents on the back, and as I go next or previous, it loads the next document on the list or the previous document on the list, right? So now I can go through all of these hits in the back end and have them displayed without having to open and close the window. Okay. I don't know if this is the best list on the planet, but there it is. All right. Let me open up a folder. Hang on just a minute. I'm going to go back to my original quality assurance folder. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and select this first document at the top. Now, we have our thumbnail view, and there's a little slider here, and there's a little button. And what this basically does is it's allowing me to set the width up to 4 for my thumbnails. Okay. Now, that comes in handy for a lot of reasons, because some of the things that we like to do with thumbnails, of course, is to rearrange the documents, right? So I can take a thumbnail and say if I wanted to make page 1, page 7 or 8, I can just simply drag that thumbnail within the document back and forth, okay? I can do a multiple selection. So I'm going to hold my control key down. I want pages 1, page 6, page 11, page 16, page 19, page 22, and so on. Okay? So I can go ahead and copy or cut those pages from this document. Of course, if I copy it, it'll leave these pages here, but move them to somewhere else. If I cut it, it will remove it from this document. Same thing here. So if I copy pages 2 or move pages 2, it's the same thing as cut and copy. But here's the thing. If I wanted to move pages 2, take them out of this document, I can now use this to do batch processing. So I might say, hey, move these pages to, the quality assurance folder, but make their own document. Let's create a new document from copy machine. Yeah, go ahead and do that for me. All right. So now I've just taken those pages out and created a whole new document from them using the thumbnail view. Okay. There you have it. All right, so let's talk about the center window, the image view, right? This is our scanned image or our permanent vinyl record. And with this, we can zoom in, zoom out, right? We can set the fit width to fit the window, right? The whole thing from top to bottom, to fit the width of the window, to fit the height, or to do it at a certain percentage, okay? We can annotate the image, right? We've got highlights. We wanted to put an annotation on it, right? And these annotations can be rotated clockwise, counterclockwise, what have you. They can be modified. So I want to change the color, for example. I'm going to go in and say, make this orange, right? You notice we have this little metadata tab here, and it's saying who the creator is. It's me because I'm logged in. It will put the date created and last modified, but I can even put comments on here. I highlighted because, XYZ, whatever. I can put restrictions on it. If I say none, then everybody can see it, right? If I say private, then it's for my eyes only, okay? And protected will keep anybody, even an administrator, or from modifying or, doing anything with that particular annotation, right? And we have a whole slew of annotations, right? Redactions, we want to block those out. Now, you can only use the redaction tool if you have rights to redactions, so keep that in mind. Sticky notes. I can put a sticky note on here. Hello, thin client users, right? Now, anything that I put in this sticky note becomes searchable, right? This is additional metadata that we're adding to the document, right? We've got stamps. And these stamps are kind of cool because, you can do faxed and received and all this other kind of stuff, right? And we have global stamps that are in there, like we can say that the faxed, right? And I want the color to be red. And I'd like to point out how it's got this little token thing on the right-hand side. And we can create these stamps and add these tokens. And this one just happens to be today's date, percent, left paren, date closed paren. So what's going to happen when I apply this stamp is it's going to put fax received, right? And today's date. Now, you notice that I still have this uh, stamp tool, right? I went back and clicked on it again so I could get back to my pointer, right? Or I can right click and you'll notice that it's got three options down here at the bottom: the select tool, the pan tool, and the zoom tool. Okay. Zoom tool, self-explanatory. I've got my scroll wheel and I'm holding the zoom tool over the document and moving my scroll wheel to zoom in and to zoom out. Okay. Right click again. I'm going to change this to the select tool, which is my mouse pointer, which allows me to go in and, change things around again, right? And then last but not least, I've got my pan tool. So while I'm zoomed in on something, I can use this little hand tool to move around while I'm zoomed in, okay? All right, let's go back out to fit width for my document, okay? So, and then of course, you can resize these windows, or at least the thumbnail window, back to its normal by grabbing the slider and moving it over to give you a little bit more document space so you can see more of the document if you want to. Since you're not working with thumbnails, why not? But keep in mind too, the thumbnails will also help you navigate through the document. The thumbnails will also allow you to email. So you can email certain pages, right? Straight from here, email document pages. So Um, there are plenty other annotations that are in the system. If I hit show annotations, um, and there's any in the document, or if I don't want to show them, you'll notice that when I go back to one of those pages, where did it go? Here we go. You notice that I have this little eye window. So, if I think the annotations are a little too pesky sometime, I can turn them off and on. Okay. All right. So I just hit the update button, which saved my changes to my document. Okay. Now, we've already talked in pretty good detail about this side window, but you notice that it's a little bit different. We got a couple of extra options. We still have our regular detail that shows us the template and all that, and the regular fields. But you notice now we've got this one called Annotations. And since I have annotations on this particular document, it shows me where they're at, right? It shows me whether they're private or public and exactly what they are. And then, of course, I can just click on one of those and it'll take me straight to it, right? Pretty neat. All right. And again, you can go to more and configure the tabs that you want to see and the ones that you don't. I'm going to go ahead and remove processes because we don't have any business processes created. And I'm also going to remove records because you don't have the records management edition. Okay. And I'm going to apply those changes. So now I only have the three tabs. Okay. Now, um, they're really, without going into too much detail for a lot of the things that we covered in this particular session, we covered the browser view in more detail. We covered searching very well. And, opening the document and working with the thumbnails for batch mode or for reorganization or for distribution, emailing pages and whatnot, it's pretty simple, straightforward. We're going to keep this as basic training today. I hope that this particular session has been informative, and I hope that it's been easy for you to understand. Refer back to this video anytime you want, anytime you need to. And I want to reiterate to you guys this help file that's online, right? Very important. Everything that I've covered is in this help file verbatim. Click here, do this, do that. Whether it be searching with the quick search, right? Advanced searching, we covered a lot of that. Viewing documents, navigation, right? And this is updated on a regular basis and it stays current because it's actually being pulled down from the Laserfiche support site itself. So if you ever get stuck, go ahead and click on that help file, right? And I'll just show you one last time. Let me go ahead and close this window. So from the document view, I can go to my name up here right? And you see the help option there, right? And it doesn't matter if you're in the document view or if you're in the search view or if you're in the browser view. You just go up and find your name in the top right corner and find that help file, right? And don't forget, when you're done using Laserfiche, just for security reasons, on the same area, you can go ahead and sign out. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to sign out. I want to say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy your Laserfiche application, and I hope that this tutorial or this training video helps you move along a little bit more effectively and a bit more efficiently. Thank you again, and we look forward to getting our next training series to you.